Welcome to 500 Doors, your real estate podcast. Speaking with industry experts in real estate buying, selling, planning, developing, wholesaling, investing, financing, and management. If it's real estate, we're talking about it. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, an award-winning 6- and 7-figure real estate agent with over 2 decades of experience. Understanding real estate is a dream for many, that we, real estate professionals, have the ability to bring that dream to reality while building better communities and being the change we want to see. All righty, welcome back to 500 Doors. And why 500 Doors? Because I believe that behind every door is an opportunity to serve, an opportunity to engage, an opportunity to create the community that we want. And this brings me to my guest today. I'm super excited. We had a great conversation before we even started recording because this is front and center for our guests today. Franco Perez, having grown up in a family with an unstable housing situation, Franco is on a mission to create affordable housing in Silicon Valley. He discovered that the Bay Area's mobile home parks offer an abundance of underused land and a great growth potential. After years of dedication to his vision, Franco has established a devoted team of like-minded individuals who believe that their positive impact equals success. So let's bring in Franco because this is a serious conversation we're having here because housing is essential. Food, shelter, medication, education. These are things that make us human, right? Welcome. How are you doing, Franco?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Kim. Really appreciate it.
Well, I'm excited. Just so you know, the very first home that I had as a baby, my mom and dad, was a single wide mobile home in
No
Kansas.
way.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. So, and then first marriage was in a double wide mobile home.
Okay.
That's
Wow, that's
Kansas.
cool.
Yeah. The church was in a double wide. Um, and now ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, are like hitting the news all across Canada. So to me, that's like a park model or a mobile home. It's the same concept, right? So
Yeah.
I'm we got to figure something out.
Oh,
There are too many
totally.
people living on the streets. There are too many people who can't afford a home. Every child deserves to have 4 safe walls, right?
I completely agree with that. And that gave me goosebumps. You know, it totally resonates with kind of what you said. I grew up in a weird poverty situation, immigrated from the Philippines, had a single mom kind of raise me. And I remember at 17 years old, my parents split, my dad left, my mom wasn't really working. And I had to quit school just to work, just to afford paying rent at the end of every single month. And I remember thinking, like, why is life like this? I feel like we're good people. We work hard and we could barely make ends meet at the end of the day. And it's just so unfair that people have to be in this situation. And I know, speaking about this today, there are people out there that were in the shoes that I was in currently right now that have trouble with housing. And that's always something that I've been passionate about. So it really hits a spot with what you said.
And we do have that in common. My mother left my father when I was 15 years of age. And had we not had my grandparents' basement, 5 of us stomping back to my grandparents' house into their basement apartment of 700 square feet, 5 females. Now, that's just Hunger Games could have taken some pointers from my sisters and I. But the reality is had it not been for my grandparents, I don't know where my mother would have gone.
Yeah.
And because
Yeah.
there isn't enough affordable housing solutions out there. And, my mother was working 2 jobs. So I get it. I get it. I truly know that fear of, of,
Yeah.
of not having shelter.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's insane. And onto that, the kind of like you were a real estate agent, and I was an agent for a while, just doing real estate deals. When I worked full time, I ended up doing door to door, like trying to get a listing for this real estate company and that sort of thing. Um, and after I got established and I was making a decent amount of income as an agent, I really came to hate being an agent because I felt like being a real estate agent meant I have to help the richest and wealthiest people I know purchase the most, the best investments for them. And at the same point of that, I had to turn away people that weren't making enough. I'm like, and tell them like, hey, sorry, you're not making enough. You don't have enough saved as a down payment, and maybe save up more or make more later down the line, and I can help you. When the truth of it is, nobody's helping them. The truth of it is, they're most likely never going to be able to afford housing without the right advice or the right opportunities. And I really decided to leave doing regular real estate agent stuff and tried to find something that would really create an impact for those people that were in my shoes, for those people that don't have that opportunity. And it was just deep inside of me to want to find something that way. And came across, I actually did a lot of studies of several different asset classes. I did government work for a little while and saw their affordable housing options. I really didn't like it. It was like a lottery system. It was all kind of all mixed up. And then I came across mobile home parks and I was like, whoa, there are secretly a ton of mobile home parks throughout the country and many metro areas, and they're really misunderstood. There's all these bad myths and bad stigmas about them. And they're in areas and locations that are really prime locations, right? We have parks here that are right across from the Google campus or the Samsung campus, and right across from $2 million homes that are of average quality. And why is it that we're not optimizing these areas? And then I also looked into the parks, so the people themselves as well, as like, hey, they're teachers, they're working class people. These are people that have been able to stay longer in an expensive area because of the fact that they own a mobile home in these communities, right? And it really hit a light bulb in my head to realize that, wow, this is the biggest secret um, to housing that people really don't understand. And there's so much to improve, and there's so much to learn from this whole asset class itself. And so went full time. We started a business and really just helping people get out of renting and into owning their first mobile home. And then we help people sell and transition to their first real estate transaction as well. And then after doing that for a year and a half, we started building our first prototype, actually converting, like you mentioned, these old single wides and converting it to something that was like 1,500 square feet, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and pushing the limits of how beautiful we can make these homes. And since we've done that, we've done it multiple times, and we continue to do that and create more and more quality, affordable housing for everyone out there. Right. And it's so important. There's so much different elements that I could dive into about it, but that's basically what we do and how we came about doing that.
So share with me what you think are the top 3 myths around mobile homes.
Yeah. So I want to mention that our perception of mobile homes are, because nobody has an excuse to go in these communities. Our perception is all through Hollywood, through Netflix, through Eminem and Breaking Bad, and we always perceive it's a very, very low poverty location, right? And now, if you come to think about it, though, there's apartments, there's really bad quality apartments you don't want your kids running around, and then you have luxury apartments that are really beautiful. And that's the thing with mobile home parks too. There's a spectrum. And it shouldn't all be seen as a super poverty location. But the top three really is, number one is, these communities are very low level, low poverty like locations, and it attracts criminals and that sort of thing. I always hear um, this type of conversation around it. And the second is the low quality of these builds, how they're constructed, and the quality of them, and it's not, and that it's not durable, it's not safe to live in. And the third really is the financial element of it. uh, we have a lot of myths that they depreciate in value, that it's a waste of money, it's a bad investment. However, all of these three myths are pretty much all false, right? And that's the thing, is where everything's adapted, everything's been improved from how it was 40 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it is. And those are really the main three myths that we aim to debunk through our YouTube channel and showcase the beauty of how these work.
So we've talked about location because a lot of mobile home parks or modular or however you want to position this, because I mean we hear park model and people are like, oh, park model, or we hear the term ADU, so the auxiliary dwelling units, which are the cottages, the backyard cottages you can rent, which are getting approved in major markets across North America. And the reality is these types of products have been used through the Scandinavian countries, have been used across Europe, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so let's talk. I want to tackle build, and then I want to go into financial, because we've just talked about how the location. There's a lot of good locations. There's this mobile home park in Boise, Idaho, that is a gated community, and you go
Mhm.
in, and it's because they have homeowners association. They have a homeowners association. The boulevards and the streets and the sidewalks, everything is beautifully taken care of. And what's really interesting is they have some units in there that are from like the 50s with the old architecture, right? But they don't look old, right? They're so
Mhm.
this complex is beautiful. So
Yeah.
when so there's all these. So we know location varies, just like location varies on houses and apartments. Let's talk build. Walk me through a little bit on you know the materials, like what is it in comparison to a stick site built house, like a little starter house. So you can get little starter houses now that are $500,000 at 800 square feet.
Mhm.
What's the difference between the two?
Yeah, so if we're talking build quality and that sort of thing, and I don't want to, I also want to be empathetic towards, there's no bad quality home. There's also a lot of 1970s homes with these older homes that are a perfect tool for people that's the only thing that they can afford, right? And if that's your home and that's the stage that you got to go through now, that might be the perfect steps for you to start your ownership journey, and that is a perfect financial tool for you. However, in the 70s, these homes were really built for temporary housing. There was really no large um, government entity that was trying to enforce quality. So you'll find that these homes were really built to be transportable and temporary. They were metal exteriors. We have metal framing within, you have paneling, and it's really a thin, very light home. Now, people have remodeled them and that sort of thing, and up the quality of old homes, and I've seen them become beautiful too. However, if we talk to the modern day today, these homes are being built in very high quality factories. So we actually are required to go through HUD code, which is just like any new construction home that's being built today. So these are being built on an assembly line. It starts with the steel I-beams. Some people also call these manufactured homes as well, but it starts with building the steel I-beams, and then they build the subfloor of high quality there, which is 2x4 or 2x6 framing underneath. And then all throughout, when it comes to the plumbing, the electrical, we have all licensed. What's interesting in these factories is we have several different inspection points at every different stage of this assembly line that really ensures the level of quality that these homes are being built. They also test the material of how it's being built as well. They check the fire rating, the insulation rating, and the roof structure, and that sort of thing as well. So HUD is always in these factories doing their regular inspections, and they pay out third-party inspectors to do it as well. So that being said, when you're actually in a factory setting, it's we are able to really build homes at a faster rate of more quality because we can see the process done repeatedly every time. When you compare to stick built housing, we have to, if you think about it, we have to transport all the labor, we have to transport all the material, and then there's a lot of nuances in different locations. You also have to deal with the weather, if it's raining, if it's storming, if it's windy, right? And it ends up becoming a very tedious thing. But in these factories, the quality of how they're built is truly amazing, and that's what we try to showcase in our videos too, of how they're built and the efficiency of how they're built as well.
Another term for these homes is the RTM, ready to move. So that's a term that we use up here. And I think people, so what I'm seeing is these products can be used, these homes can be used as a singular, so smaller unit, but people are also using these to create larger homes. So, family homes on an acreage. You've got an acreage out there. Why would you haul a bunch of contractors out there when you can get an RTM, a ready to move property, and you put it in? Because at the end of the day, all these new builds, if you go and look at stick frame homes, they're 6 different floor plans. It's the
Yeah.
same as a modular product. The uniqueness, the individual piece of it comes from the person that moves in and paints those walls and puts in their own quirky furniture, or adds the red teapot to the kitchen counter. That's the uniqueness of the space. um
There's
yeah, go
There's
ahead.
actually two things I wanted to bring up too, because you mentioned that really is a thought that I think is very important. There's one is the waste element for the environment. We're able to save on materials as well. Because we are consistently building in the same factory, the lumber and material, we're able to cut and store extra lumber to be used in another job site or another home itself. And if you think, I was just talking to a process improvement guy that develops these factories, but he mentioned that on a regular job site where it's stick built, you usually have about 3 giant dumpsters that have to be thrown away for waste. Whereas in a factory built home, a 1,500 square foot home actually only has 30% of a dumpster of waste. And that's huge. We're wasting way less material. And that's, that lowers our carbon footprint by so much, and it lowers the amount of waste we're having, and it also affects the affordability as well. I mean, with the affordability, if we I always love to bring this up because if you think about it, cars originally were only built for the rich before, and only affordable by the rich and wealthy before. It was only until they were able to build this in an assembly line that they were able to build it at a much more affordable rate, at a faster and efficient rate, to keep the cost low and to allow for these cars to be accessible to everybody. And that big improvement of how we build these homes is really what's going to make the difference of how we can continue to build quality homes at an efficient and effective rate and keep the cost of it at a very low rate as well. And that's exactly what's happening. This is an assembly line for these homes, and it really is the future of housing.
The waste is, I think it's something, when we're in an environmentally conscious society, we have become conscious of what we're dumping into our dumps, where we're shipping our garbage. That when we're dumping, and yeah, it's like, here we were saying, it is 30% less waste goes to the landfill. So imagine that off of every single unit. That means one entire house is not even hitting
Mhm.
our landfills, and we can't afford. We're seeing, the taxation on plastic bottles. We're wanting to get cars off of petroleum products. Like, there's all these things going on, and yet we have to start rethinking our homes. I want to tackle financials because modular products don't tend to qualify for the same financing as a fixed product. Um, but when you go through your financials, and I know that on new homes, so on first time home buyers, the one thing that always kind of goes, oh, I didn't know I needed to do that, was making sure they have factored in money for the maintenance every year, right? So you can preserve the value of the property. Do you need 4% of the property value or 10% of the property value that you're going to reinvest annually? So let's talk financials, because these are true entry level home buyers. What do you
Yeah.
do to help set them up for success? And what are the things that you have found that people can use in order to get financing on these? Because I'm guessing a lot of people just don't walk around with
Yeah.
$50,000 in their pocket and decide that they want to buy, you know, a ready to move product or a modular product.
Yeah. So, um, great question. I want to talk about the housing and the problem in our area, in the Bay Area. Now,
Awesome.
I'm going to explain these numbers. Now, it's going to be way different for a lot of the listeners because the Bay Area is a very expensive place. However, this model really works at a smaller ratio of cost in other areas like LA, San Diego, Phoenix, other metro cities as well. But in our area in San Jose, California, a two-bedroom rental apartment is about $3,500 a month, right? That's a very high cost of just paying rent for an apartment or an apartment building to rent that for a family. And then the median cost to purchase a single family home in our area is $1.6 million, right? Very high cost to just get an average single family home. And for people that are renting at 3,500 a month, it's such a far out reach to ever feel like you can ever own a piece of real estate at that high of a purchase price at 1.6 million. To get financing to pretty much get a home accepted, you'd have to come up with like 250,000 down. You'd have to have a payment of about $8,000 a month, and it's a very heavy feat. And for a middle class person to be able to ever do that it seems unrealistic. Now, if we look at the mobile home in a mobile home park in our area, um, an average an average home of, like, let's say 5 years old is about $350,000. Now, for that home, they can get financing. It's about 25-year loan. There are current loans for that
Oh,
now.
awesome.
So, and then
Awesome.
with that, you can have a 10% down payment, which is only about $35,000, which really keeps it at a much more affordable and attainable process, right? So their down payment would be about 35K, and their space rent would be about $1,000, and their mortgage would be about $2,500, which really keeps it around that same monthly payment that they were paying for rent originally, where all of that money pretty much goes away. Now your payment and your personal cash flow is actually going towards an asset that you own, right? And that's the key element here. Is they're just shifting their housing vehicle and their financial vehicle to a mobile home, and just by doing that, they're getting a lot of financial benefits like appreciation, loan buy down, equity. These are things that really are only, I feel like, are only being beneficial to the rich and wealthy. However, with these, you're really able to attain these benefits and tax benefits as well at an entry cost, right? And with that, that becomes then the stepping stone to get you out of that huge rent cycle and owning a
Yeah.
mobile home. And then 5 years down the line, we did a case study. If you compare a renter at that price with a mobile homeowner at that price, the delta is actually $95,000, right? And then with that, just by living there and paying the same amount, you have an extra 95K that when you sell your mobile home, you can use that to help purchase a single family home or a townhouse later down the line, right? And this model, I know I said really high cost numbers, but let's say the average
Yeah.
prices are like 30% less in your area. That can be just equivalently done the same. And that's the whole concept of why this is such a beautiful thing.
And those numbers are actually the same numbers that you would see in Toronto and New York and those types of areas. So I mean that's not those numbers don't shock me because Canada has some of the highest uh, price per square foot in the world. We have some very expensive real estate. So I do want to ask, you know, is there, so the reality is people who are buying mobile homes in your market are not going to be the same. They're probably more financially savvy than somebody who's going to buy a mobile home, let's say in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because of the
Mhm.
price difference, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I do want to you know talk about that a little bit more. So when you're introducing these people to home ownership, what does what do you go through what they can expect for property maintenance, and what are the different terms? Does your team help them with that type of almost orientation into homeownership?
Yeah. So usually with our team, for example, and we give a lot of advice, and and it's always, I'm not the type to say that one's right for or the other. However, I feel like everyone should have their own custom built advice, right? So we really go through advising like, hey, what are your current financials? What are your goals? And we break down what whether or not this is feasible or whether or not this is right for you. And the ultimate thing first is just to know that this is a consideration and something that's an option for you outside of just renting or just purchasing, because in a lot of areas you'll want to live where close to work or close to a good school for your kids. And we really walk them through what they're currently paying for rent, what is their credit, how much do they have saved as a down payment, if they can't afford a mobile home just yet, what are the steps that we can help guide them to getting that as well. And we really aim to pump out as much of this educational content at scale through our YouTube channel, through speaking on your guys' show. It's really something that I'm so passionate about, is just educating people that this is an option and it should be something that should be considered, and it shouldn't be ignored, right? Because unfortunately, being growing up from a middle class family, there's so much that I wish I knew when I was younger. I wish I had the education of understanding net worth, understanding assets over liabilities, understanding that the huge difference between paying rent and having a home that you're paying down the loan, right? Because
Yep.
just that simple clarity of sometimes paying more on a mortgage can really mean a better positive for you versus paying less on rent, right? And these are the decisions that we really try to give the correct advice for.
A lot of cities are shutting mobile homes down. They're not, they're taking the land back. We're seeing some things along those lines. How can we advocate? How does somebody advocate for affordable solutions like beautiful gate? I think honestly, some of these gated communities that I've seen, we have another one here in just outside of Calgary that is a plus 55 community, and it's
Mhm.
fully gated and it's walking distance, this little lake and everything. And I'm going, what an awesome option. It's all main floor living, which with an aging population, what do we need, right? It's and land is valuable, so you have to get really creative as to like main floor living. But if cities are against them, how do we get cities to listen?
Yeah. So I was just in DC last week, actually, showcasing to Senate and state Congress and that sort of thing. And it's really a touchy conversation because, and I think it really stems down to the false perception that people have, right? And that's really the main thing, is that people perceive, because they've never been to one. I mean, even realtors in our area. I talk to real estate agents and they're like, whoa, this is a mobile home park. Wow, I would, at first, before even going there, like, I don't want to go in there, it's dangerous or whatnot. But it's really the perception of these. The first thing is really showcasing to these municipalities, the mayors, the people that are these decision makers, show them, hey, let's go to this community. And that's why we pump out a lot of video tours, because we can really show at scale as well how beautiful these communities are, the gated communities, the swimming pools, the amenities. That's a huge element of it. And the second huge element to it too is really showcasing the beautiful stories that come out of these homes, right? So the teachers that I just interviewed a teacher that we helped own one of these homes, and she was so happy because she was being pushed out of this area, and all of her coworkers having a low income of being a teacher are being pushed out of this area because they can't afford living here. But because they were able to purchase a mobile home, they were able to stay here and feel financially secure and have opportunity for financial freedom. These stories is really how we have to understand these mobile home parks to are, and we have to protect these parks because they're misunderstood. People have weird fears and want to close them down because they perceive what they see on the media. That's really it, I feel.
So yeah, and that's a big one. It's interesting because Warren Buffett, Clayton Homes, Warren Buffett is very, very, I'm going to use a stock term here, but very bullish. Like he believes in mobile homes. He believes that modular products are a key to the solutions of our housing crisis. And folks, we are in a housing crisis. In Canada alone, we are short, and you got to remember the population here is less than California for all of Canada. And we're short 400,000 homes, and we are slated over the next 5 years an additional, what is it? I want to say it's like 500,000 people immigrating to Canada.
Mhm.
Where are they going to live? Where are they going to
Yeah.
live? I don't care if you're scrubbing toilets or you own the factory that makes the toilets. The reality is every human being has a right to their four walls. They really do. You have a right to the safety and security of having a safe place to lay your head at night. So,
Mhm.
we have to get really creative and get a little loud. Get a little
Yeah.
loud. Let the cities know that if you're taking down, so here in Calgary, we see a lot of older neighborhoods that the schools are no longer in use. Do you see that where schools are not like full anymore? Do you guys see that in any of your markets?
Not in the area that I'm in currently, but I have heard a lot about this. Yeah.
So as we move further out of the cities for affordable housing, because our inner city becomes more and more expensive, these schools and these different infrastructure pieces are no longer needed.
Yeah.
They're underutilized. Why wouldn't you take the amount of space that schools are on and look at alternative housing opportunities and
Mhm.
create simplified infrastructure housing like mobile homes? So these are things that, I love the fact that you came on this. And I love the fact, Franco, that you are willing to tackle this. I mean, I don't think Buffett gets, nobody thinks Buffett is not smart or not good with money because he's investing in mobile homes. But this is like a big piece of his portfolio is
Mhm.
in the mobile home or the manufacturing or the ownership of the actual communities all
Yeah.
across the United States.
And
So,
and
yeah.
oh, sorry. And you talked a lot about kind of the problem, and the sad truth is that it's this problem of affordable housing. It's getting worse and worse. I think what sometimes is the issue. We have a lot of bad news and sort of thing, and we don't have enough, like you said, attention. We're not loud enough. This problem is just it's it's getting bigger and bigger at a slow enough rate so that people aren't pissed off and realize, right? And it's going to continue to get worse. The affordability of these homes aren't going to get better. The material costs are getting more expensive, and also a huge part of our skilled labor, the construction workers working at these sites, are 50 and over, and they're retiring, and we're getting less and
Mhm.
less of them. And we don't have younger generation people that are excited about working with a hammer and doing construction. So we have to realize how big of a problem this is, and we have to disrupt, and we have to innovate, and we have to build so much, we have to build so much better. And because it's not a huge pain point yet for anyone, it's becoming this slow switch where this wealth gap is getting spread wider and wider. And it's so sad for me because I've came from there before, and I want to keep this equal opportunity for everybody. Right. And that's how I feel it
I mean,
should be. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. It's what wakes me up every morning. So
well, and that's what America, come on, folks, let's go back to this. The American dream is a home. It's mom pie and mom and apple pie. It's not having your own jet. It's not having 5 McMansions spread across the country. It is the fact that in the United States, the what the United States was built on, and also Canada, is that it's a country you can come to, or a country that you're born into, and you don't have to stay within a negative set of standards, right? You don't have to stay impoverished. You can go to school. You can get, an opportunity to own your own home, to have those 4 walls, to create security, to create legacy for your children. And that's what we really need to come back to. Great, awesome. You've made a ton of money. You've built a big giant house, but don't block somebody else starting on their path. Maybe find solutions, right? Um,
absolutely.
I just really, I wish we could get back to some core fundamentals. I mean, I and please, if you hear this and the Kardashians hear this, I'm not poo-pooing I'm not putting anything out there to get sued on, but the reality is that's not reality.
Mhm.
That is not reality. Reality is people are paying more and more and more because there's less and less and less. Right now in Calgary, in our real estate market, it is literally 5 or 6 or 7 buyers that are presenting offers for that starter product. And a starter product, a starter home, is now rocking that 600,000 mark.
Mhm.
We can't continue to go this route because that's not starter. That's not a starter income. That's not starter, folks. We need places for people to be able to launch. And I really love what you're doing. I really do. I appreciate that. Can you share with us the legacy if I were to spin this ahead, you are 45 years old. And just so you guys know, he is actually older than he looks. So, but let's spin this ahead 15 years. What's the legacy you would like to leave?
I'd say a model that really I like to inspire people to not let me start over. I really want to inspire people to start businesses that are really there not just to chase profits and money and that sort of thing, but to really pursue creating an impact and making a difference. I think we forget that sometimes through watching YouTube shows or that sort of thing. It's like, how do we make more and every month and that sort of thing. Whereas I love supporting businesses that really have a drive and a mission to build something that can create an impact more than the dollars and cents that come out of it. Um, but I'd say 15 years from now, I'd love to see mobile homes really seen as the perfect or a huge option for people of low income to have as their starter home, to have as a stepping stone to get out of that rent cycle and to start their home ownership journey. I just like with what you said, I want to be loud about this because whether it's through our company or not, you should know that this is an option out there. And this is something that can really help you start generational wealth, start financial security for your family. And to me, knowing that I can create an impact for one person already creates joy for myself and fulfillment for myself. But to know that our team can do that at scale, and to know that the educational pieces we put out there does it at scale, it means so much to me. And I think fulfillment is the most underrated compensation, to me. So
I love that. Fulfillment's most underrated compensation. I love that. I love that. Did you know they did a recent study on wealth, and they found the happiness quotient tends to be between 80,000 and 240,000, meaning that at over 240, 250, there's no difference in happiness. So, I'm not saying don't strive for more, but put that more to good use. Leave a
yeah.
legacy. Leave a legacy that you're proud of. So, I'd love to bring up, where can people find you, follow you? What platform is your favorite platform to engage in? Those
Yeah.
types of things.
So all of our links, you can find it here at this www.franco.tv that shows our Instagram channel, our YouTube videos where you can really see how these homes are built. We do factory tours that show you the inside of them. And yeah, all of our links are there, or you can Google us at Franco. Franco Mobile Homes is the name of the company. So yeah.
That is awesome. All right. Uh, we know that building a business, living life, anything and everything, there's hard days, right? We all need some inspiration. So I would love for you to share a quote or a saying, either from your mom or from some great scholar, or maybe one that you've just are the marching orders that you give your team. But what is a quote that inspires you?
Oh, man, wish I had one prepared. There's so many. I think I'd probably just say keep it simple. This might be cliche, but the Nike quote of "just do it." I think we have a lot of weird fears and insecurities that we need to really just take a step in action, and be afraid to try things and not be afraid to fail. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to spend months on something that doesn't end up panning out the way you want it to. We have to help people understand that failing isn't something to be afraid of, but it's something that's required to succeed. And yeah, I'd say that's probably the most important
I
thing.
Yeah, it's failure is a good thing because that's what builds. I mean, if Edison had quit the first time the light bulb did not work, think about it, folks. You know, how many times, how many stabs do they have to figure out to, take a stab at developing penicillin? A lot of stuff, a lot of great things happen because of failure. Right? So because something went sideline. So I agree. Just do it. If you want to make a change, just do it. Um, if you are listening to this and you're in a city and you're going, are there mobile homes? Is there something going on? Um, Franco, is there an association that people can actually join, like a legislative association out there, protecting or encouraging or supporting mobile home owners or mobile home lot, like the communities?
The association, there are several. The one that I like that I'm a member of is MHI, which is Manufactured Housing Institute. And they do a lot for really protecting the affordability of these homes, protecting these communities. Like you said, we face a lot of, they call it NIMBY, not in my backyard. They try to close these parks down because they're misunderstood. Um, but they really have beliefs that I align with too. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, folks, you know what? MHRI, take a look. If you are up there in your community, and if you're a real estate agent wishing there was more opportunities in your market, go out and make them. Go out and make those opportunities. Get involved. That's all I can say. You create the community you want to live in. Period. Right? Right, Franco?
Totally.
We create. You
100%.
have that. All right, folks. Until next time, I appreciate you sharing your most valuable resource, your time. And be good to yourself. That's all I can say. be good to yourselves. Let's stick around and watch my super duper outro. Thank you for joining us at the 500 Doors, Your Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to join our Facebook group at Real Estate Success with 500 Doors. Keep on watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share.